First contact and discovery. The vast emptiness of space stretched out before Captain Elena Reyes as she stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel. The ship's sleek design and state-of-the-art technology represented humanity's greatest achievement in space travel. As they ventured further into uncharted territory, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of something extraordinary. "Captain, we're picking up an unusual energy signature," reported Lieutenant Kira Chen, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. "It's unlike anything we've encountered before." Elena leaned forward, her dark eyes narrowing as she studied the readout. "Can you pinpoint its location?" "Yes, ma'am. It's coming from a planetoid in the nearby asteroid belt. Preliminary scans indicate an atmosphere and gravity similar to Earth's." "Interesting," Elena mused. "Helm, set a course for the planetoid. Let's investigate this anomaly up close." As the ESS Horizon glided through the asteroid belt, the crew's excitement was palpable. They had embarked on this mission to push the boundaries of human exploration, and now they stood on the precipice of a potentially groundbreaking discovery. The planetoid came into view, a desolate rock floating in the void. But as they drew closer, something caught Elena's eye. "Magnify that region," she ordered, pointing to a section of the planetoid's surface. The image zoomed in, revealing what appeared to be the remnants of an ancient structure. Its angular lines and metallic sheens stood in stark contrast to the rugged terrain surrounding it. "Is that artificial?" asked Commander Jack Foster, Elena's second-in-command. "It certainly looks that way," Elena replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Prepare a landing party. We're going down there." Within the hour, Elena led a team of 6 onto the planetoid's surface. Their environmental suits protected them from the harsh conditions as they made their way towards the mysterious structure. As they drew closer, the true scale of the discovery became apparent. The structure was massive, easily dwarfing their shuttle. "This is incredible," breathed Dr. Amelia Santos, the team's xenoarchaeologist. "The level of engineering required to build something like this, it's far beyond anything we've seen before." Elena nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "Let's find a way inside. There must be an entrance somewhere." They circled the structure, their suit lights illuminating the weathered surface. After what seemed like hours, they found what appeared to be an airlock. Dr. Santos examined the control panel, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The symbols, they're not like any alien language we've encountered," she muttered. "But there's something familiar about them. Almost human." Elena's heart skipped a beat. "Human? How is that possible?" Before Dr. Santos could respond, the airlock hissed open, startling the team. They exchanged nervous glances before Elena stepped forward. "We didn't come all this way to turn back now," she said, her voice firm. "Let's see what's inside." They entered the structure, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. As their lights swept across the interior, they gasped in unison. The walls were lined with row upon row of sleek, otherworldly vessels. Each ship bore markings that, while alien, carried an unmistakable human influence. It's a fleet," Jack whispered in awe. "But how? When?" Elena approached one of the ships, her hand hovering over its smooth surface. As she touched it, the vessel hummed to life, holographic displays flickering into existence around them. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Chen, who had been examining another ship. "I think I found something. It looks like a log entry." The team gathered around as Chen activated the hologram. A figure appeared before them, dressed in a uniform that seemed both familiar and strange. The person's features were distorted by time and data degradation, but their message came through clearly. "To those who find this message, know that you stand in the presence of humanity's last hope. We are the descendants of Earth, forced to flee our home centuries ago, when an alien threat nearly wiped us out. We built this fleet in secret, hoping to one day reclaim our world. But time ran out. The enemy found us. We were forced to hide our greatest achievement and scatter across the stars. If you are human, Know that you are not alone. If you are not, beware. Humanity will rise again. The message ended, leaving the team in stunned silence. Elena's mind reeled with the implications of what they had just learned. A lost human civilization, advanced beyond their wildest dreams, had been out here all along. "Captain," Jack said, breaking the silence. "What do we do now?" Elena took a deep breath, her resolve strengthening. "We do what humanity has always done. We adapt, we learn, and we prepare. Because if this message is true, Earth might be in danger, and we might be its only hope." As they began to explore the rest of the facility, cataloging the incredible technology left behind by their ancestors, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled upon something far greater than a simple discovery. They had found a legacy, a responsibility, and perhaps the key to humanity's survival. Little did they know, their actions had not gone unnoticed. Far across the galaxy, on a world of perpetual twilight, a being of immense power received an alert. The long-dormant sensors placed around the human fleet's hiding place had been triggered. The being's multifaceted eyes narrowed, and a low, rumbling growl echoed through its chamber. Unraveling the mystery, as the ESS Horizon orbited the planetoid, the crew worked tirelessly to unravel the secrets of the hidden human fleet. Captain Elena Reyes stood in the makeshift command center they had established within the ancient facility, surrounded by holographic displays showing the progress of their investigation. "Dr. Santos, what have you discovered about the ships?" Elena asked, turning to the xenoarchaeologist. Amelia Santos looked up from her datapad, her eyes bright with excitement. "It's remarkable, Captain. The technology in these vessels is centuries ahead of our own. They utilize a form of faster-than-light travel that we've only theorized about. And their weapon systems, they're beyond anything we've ever seen." Commander Jack Foster frowned, his arms crossed. But why build such an advanced fleet and then abandon it? The message mentioned an enemy, but who? And where did they go? Elena nodded, sharing his frustration. "Those are the questions we need to answer. Lieutenant Chen, have you made any progress decrypting the facility's database?" Kira Chen nodded, her fingers flying over a holographic keyboard. "Yes, Captain. It's slow going, but I'm starting to piece together a timeline. It seems that about 500 years ago, Earth encountered an alien species called the Vex-Car. Initial contact was peaceful, but it quickly turned hostile." The room fell silent as Chen continued. "The Vex-Car were technologically superior and nearly wiped out humanity. A small group managed to escape, taking with them Earth's best and brightest. They spent centuries building this fleet in secret, hoping to one day retake their homeworld. But something went wrong," Elena mused. "They were discovered before they were ready." "Exactly," Chen confirmed. "The last entries in the database are fragmented, but they mention a massive Vex-Car fleet approaching. The humans scattered, hiding their greatest weapons and hoping that one day their descendants would find this place and continue the fight." Jack shook his head in disbelief. "So, for the past 500 years, Earth has been, what? Under Vex-Car control. How is that possible? We've never encountered any alien species, let alone been conquered by one." Dr. Santos spoke up, her voice quiet but firm. "It's possible that the Vex-Car are masters of subterfuge. They could have integrated themselves into human society so seamlessly that we never realized they were there. Or perhaps they're controlling things from the shadows, manipulating our development without direct intervention." The implications were staggering. Elena felt a chill run down her spine as she considered the possibility that everything they knew about their history, their world, might be a carefully constructed lie. "We need to warn Earth," Jack said, voicing what they were all thinking. Elena nodded, but before she could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. Lieutenant Chen's hands flew over her console. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy surge in the system. Something big just dropped out of FTL." Heart pounding, Elena raced to the nearest viewport. In the distance, she could see a massive shape emerge from the swirling vortex of faster-than-light travel. It was a ship, but unlike anything she had ever seen, its hull seemed to shift and writhe, as if it were alive. "It's them," she whispered. "The Vex car. They must have detected our presence when we activated the facility." Jack was already moving, barking orders into his communicator. "All personnel, back to the horizon immediately. Prepare for emergency departure." But Elena hesitated, her gaze fixed on the ancient human ships surrounding them. "We can't leave," she said, her voice filled with determination. "If we go, we lose everything we've discovered here. We lose our only chance of fighting back." "Captain," Jack argued, "we're no match for that ship. We need to retreat and warn Earth." Elena shook her head. "If we run, we lead them straight back to Earth. No, we need to stand and fight. These ships," she gestured to the fleet around them, "they're our legacy. Our ancestors built them to save humanity, and now it's our turn to use them." The crew exchanged uncertain glances, but Elena could see the resolve forming in their eyes. They had all joined this mission for the chance to make history, to push the boundaries of human exploration. Now, they faced a challenge greater than any of them had imagined, but they were ready to meet it head-on. "All right," Elena said, her voice ringing with authority. "Dr. Santos, start bringing these ships online. Lieutenant Chen, access their weapons systems and prepare for combat. Commander Foster, organize teams to crew each vessel. We may not know how to fly these ships perfectly, but we're quick learners, and we have no choice but to try." As the crew scrambled to their tasks, Elena felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. They were about to engage in humanity's first interstellar battle, flying ships built by their long-lost ancestors against an enemy they barely understood. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Ancient engines hummed to life, filling the cavern with a deep, resonant thrumming. Crew members raced between ships, familiarizing themselves with alien controls and systems that somehow felt familiar despite their advanced nature. Elena took command of the largest vessel, which they had dubbed the Phoenix. As she settled into the captain's chair, surrounded by displays and controls that seemed to respond to her thoughts as much as her touch, she felt a sense of rightness, as if she had been meant to be here all along. "All ships report ready, Captain," Jack's voice came through the comm system. Elena took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Open the bay doors. It's time to show the Vex car that humanity isn't as extinct as they thought." The massive doors of the hidden base ground open, revealing the star-filled expanse of space. One by one, the ships of the long-lost human fleet emerged from their centuries-long slumber, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant suns. As they formed up around the Phoenix, Elena could see the massive Vex-car ship growing larger in their view screens. It was joined by several smaller vessels, all bearing the same otherworldly, organic appearance. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of the human fleet," she broadcast on all frequencies. "We know who you are, Vex-car, and we know what you've done. We are the descendants of those you tried to destroy, and we're here to reclaim what's ours." For a moment, there was silence. Then, a response came, not in words, but in action. The Vex-car ships launched a barrage of energy weapons, their beams cutting through space towards the human fleet. "Evasive maneuvers," Elena shouted. "Return fire." The battle was joined, human determination and ingenuity pitted against Vex-car technology and ruthlessness. The Phoenix shuddered under enemy fire, but its ancient shields held. Elena's hands flew over the controls, guiding the ship with an intuition she didn't fully understand. Around her, the rest of the fleet engaged the enemy. Beams of energy crisscrossed the void, explosions blossomed in silence, and the very fabric of space seemed to warp and twist as weapons beyond human understanding were unleashed. As the battle raged, Elena realized that despite the odds, despite the centuries of technological advancement the Vex-car had over them, the human fleet was holding its own. The ships responded to their commands with increasing fluidity, as if the very spirits of their ancestors were guiding their hands. "We can do this," Elena murmured, more to herself than to her crew. "We can win." But even as hope began to rise in her chest, a new threat emerged. The massive Vexcar ship, which had hung back during the initial exchange, began to move. Its hull rippled and changed, revealing a weapon of terrifying proportions. "All ships, brace for impact," Elena shouted, but her warning came too late. A beam of searing energy lanced out from the Vexcar flagship, cutting through space itself. It struck one of the human vessels, vaporizing it instantly. The beam continued on, narrowly missing the Phoenix and disappearing into the depths of space. The loss of their comrades hit Elena like a physical blow. Grief and rage warred within her, but she forced herself to focus. They couldn't win this fight, not here, not now. But they could survive. They could escape and live to fight another day. "All ships, prepare for emergency FTL jump," she ordered. "We're falling back to the rally point." As the remaining human ships disengaged, their engines powering up for faster-than-light travel, Elena took one last look at the Vexcar fleet. They had held their own against a superior force, proven that humanity still had the strength and will to fight. But the true battle, she knew, was yet to come. As the Phoenix leaped into FTL, leaving the battlefield behind, Elena's mind raced with plans and strategies. They had to warn Earth, had to prepare for the coming storm. The war for humanity's future had begun, and Elena Reyes was determined to see it through to the end, no matter the cost. The looming threat. The remnants of the human fleet emerged from FTL at the predetermined rally point, a remote star system far from both Earth and the site of their recent battle. As the ships settled into orbit around a gas giant, Captain Elena Reyes called an emergency meeting of her senior staff aboard the Phoenix. The mood in the conference room was somber. The excitement of discovering their lost heritage had been tempered by the harsh reality of combat and the loss of their comrades. Elena looked around the table, noting the determination in each face despite the wariness that hung over them all. "First things first," Elena began, her voice steady. "What's our status?" Commander Jack Foster consulted his datapad. "We lost 2 ships in the battle, Captain. The rest sustained varying degrees of damage, but thanks to the advanced self-repair systems, we're already at 80% capability. The crews are adapting to the technology faster than we could have hoped." Elena nodded, a small spark of pride cutting through the grief. "And what have we learned about our enemy?" Dr. Emilia Santos leaned forward, her eyes bright with a mix of fear and fascination. "The Vexcar are unlike anything we've encountered before. Their ships seem to be a blend of organic and technological components. They can adapt and evolve mid-battle, which makes them incredibly dangerous." "But not unbeatable," Lieutenant Kira Chen interjected. "Our ancestors built these ships to combat the Vexcar, and even with our limited experience, we held our own." "True," Elena agreed, "but we can't afford to get overconfident. We got lucky, and the element of surprise was on our side. Next time, the Vexcar will be prepared." The room fell silent as the weight of their situation settled over them. They were a small fleet, far from home, facing an enemy that had nearly wiped out humanity once before. "So what's our next move, Captain?" Jack asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Elena took a deep breath, her mind racing through possible scenarios. "We need more information about the Vexcar, about what's really been happening on Earth for the past 500 years, and about any other human survivors who might be out there." She stood, pacing the length of the conference room. "I propose we split our forces. One group will head back to Earth, moving carefully to avoid detection. Their mission will be to gather intelligence and, if possible, make contact with any resistance that might exist." "And the other group?" Dr. Santos asked. "The rest of us will continue to explore, following the trail left by our ancestors. There might be more hidden bases out there, more ships, more weapons we can use against the Vexcar. We need every advantage we can get." The senior staff exchanged glances, considering the plan. It was risky, dividing their already small force, but they all understood the necessity. "I'll lead the team back to Earth," Jack volunteered. We'll be cautious, use the stealth technology we've discovered in these ships. Elena nodded, grateful for his initiative. Take 3 ships. That should be enough to defend yourselves if necessary, but small enough to avoid detection. The rest will come with me. As the meeting adjourned and the crew began preparations for their respective missions, Elena found herself standing alone in the conference room, staring out at the unfamiliar stars. The weight of command had never felt heavier. A gentle hand on her shoulder broke her from her reverie. She turned to find Dr. Santos standing beside her, a look of concern on her face. "How are you holding up, Elena?" Amelia asked softly. Elena managed a weak smile. "As well as can be expected, I suppose. It's just, when we left Earth, I thought our biggest challenge would be pushing the boundaries of exploration. Now we're fighting for the very survival of our species." Amelia nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "It's a lot to process, but if anyone can lead us through this, it's you. The crew believes in you, Elena. We all do." Before Elena could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Both women raced to the bridge, where Lieutenant Chen was hunched over her console, her face pale. "Report," Elena barked as she entered. "Captain, we're detecting multiple FTL signatures entering the system," Chen replied, her voice tense. "It's the Vex car. They found us." Elena's mind raced. How had they been tracked? Had the Vex car somehow followed that FTL wake? There was no time to ponder these questions now. "Battle stations," she ordered. "All ships, prepare for combat. Commander Foster, launch your group immediately. Use the gas giant for cover and make your escape. We'll hold them off." As the crew sprang into action, Elena settled into the captain's chair, her hands flying over the controls. The Phoenix hummed with power, its systems responding to her commands with an almost preternatural synchronicity. The first Vexcar ships appeared on their sensors, their bizarre, organic forms distorting the very space around them. Elena watched as Foster's group of ships slipped away, using the gravitational field of the gas giant to mask that FTL jump. "They're clear, Captain," Chen reported. Elena allowed herself a moment of relief before focusing on the task at hand. "All right, people, let's show these Vexcar what humanity is really capable of." The battle that ensued was unlike anything in human history. The advanced ships of their ancestors danced through space, unleashing weapons that bent light and warped gravity. The Vexcar responded in kind, their ships morphing and adapting to each attack. Elena found herself in a strange state of hyper-awareness, as if she could feel every shift and turn of the battle. She guided the Phoenix through impossible maneuvers, trusting in the ship's capabilities and her own instincts. "Captain," Dr. Santos called out from her station, "I'm detecting some kind of energy buildup in the largest Vexcar ship. It's similar to what we saw before, but more powerful." Elena's blood ran cold as she remembered the weapon that had vaporized one of their ships in the previous encounter. "All ships, evasive pattern Delta, prepare tow." Her words were cut off as a beam of blinding energy lanced out from the Vexcar flagship. It missed the Phoenix by mere meters, the residual energy making the ship's shields flare and crackle. But the beam didn't dissipate. Instead, it seemed to fold in on itself, creating a swirling vortex in the fabric of space. "What is that?" Elena whispered, staring at the phenomenon in horrified fascination. "It appears to be some kind of artificial wormhole," Dr. Santos replied, her voice filled with awe and terror. "The readings are off the charts. It's growing, Captain, and it's pulling us in." Elena's hands flew over the controls, but the Phoenix engines strained against the gravitational pull of the vortex. Around them, other ships, both human and Vexcar, were being drawn in as well. "All ships, full reverse thrust," Elena ordered. "Divert all power to engines." But it was no use. The vortex grew larger, its maw swallowing ships whole. Elena watched in horror as one of their vessels was torn apart by the gravitational forces its crew lost in an instant. As the Phoenix was inexorably pulled towards the event horizon, Elena made a split-second decision. All hands, brace for impact. We're going in. With that, she cut the engines and allowed the ship to be drawn into the swirling chaos of the wormhole. The bridge erupted in a cacophony of alarms as the ship shuddered and groaned, the very atoms of its structure straining against forces they were never meant to endure. Elena gripped her chair, her knuckles white, as blinding light filled her vision. In that moment, she thought of Earth, of the family she had left behind, of the destiny that had led her to this point. As consciousness slipped away, her last thought was a prayer, not for herself, but for humanity. When the light faded and the alarms fell silent, Elena slowly opened her eyes. The view screen before her showed not the familiar stars of their galaxy, but an alien sky filled with colors she had never seen before. "Status report," she croaked, her voice hoarse. "We're alive, Captain," Lieutenant Chen responded, sounding as surprised as Elena felt. "But I have no idea where we are, or when we are, for that matter." As the implications of their situation sank in, Elena realized that their mission had just become far more complicated. They were lost, possibly in another galaxy or even another time, with no way to contact Earth or the rest of their fleet. But as she looked around at her crew, seeing the determination in their eyes despite their fear, Elena felt a surge of hope. They had survived the impossible once again, and no matter where or when they were, they would find a way back. They would continue the fight, for they were humanity's last hope, the inheritors of a legacy 5 centuries in the making. And Elena Reyes vowed that as long as she drew breath, that legacy would not end here. Human ingenuity unleash. The Phoenix drifted in the alien expanse, its systems slowly coming back online after the traumatic journey through the Vexcar-created wormhole. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the view screen, her eyes scanning the unfamiliar constellations that stretched out before them. The silence on the bridge was heavy with uncertainty and fear, but also tinged with a sense of wonder at their unprecedented situation. "Status report," Elena commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos of emotions swirling within her. Lieutenant Chen's fingers danced across her console as she compiled the data. "We've sustained heavy damage, Captain. Shields are at 30%, weapon systems are offline, and our FTL drive is, well, I'm not even sure how to describe its condition. It's as if it's been completely reconfigured by the wormhole passage." Dr. Santos chimed in, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. "Captain, based on my preliminary scans of the surrounding space, I don't think we're just in another part of our galaxy. The stellar configurations don't match anything in our database. We may very well be in another galaxy entirely." The weight of their situation settled over the bridge crew like a heavy blanket. They were alone, damaged in uncharted space, with no way to contact Earth or the rest of their fleet. But Elena refused to let despair take hold. "All right, people," she said, her voice ringing with determination. "We've been thrown into the unknown, but that's what we signed up for when we joined this mission. We are explorers, scientists, and now, we're warriors. It's time to show the universe what human ingenuity can do." She turned to her crew, her eyes blazing with resolve. "Dr. Santos, I want you to focus on understanding where we are and how we got here. If the Vexcar can create these wormholes, there must be a way for us to do the same. That's our ticket home." Amelia nodded, already pulling up complex equations on her console. "Lieutenant Chen, work with engineering to get our systems back online. Priority on shields, weapons, and propulsion. We're vulnerable out here, and I want us combat ready as soon as possible." "Aye, Captain," Kira responded, her fingers flying over her controls. "The rest of you, I want a complete inventory of our resources: food, water, medical supplies, everything. We don't know how long we'll be out here, and we need to be prepared for a long haul." As the crew set to their tasks with renewed purpose, Elena felt a surge of pride. Despite the overwhelming odds, her people were rising to the challenge, their human spirit unbroken. Over the next few days, the crew of the Phoenix worked tirelessly to repair their ship and unravel the mysteries of their new surroundings. Elena split her time between overseeing the repairs and poring over the data they were gathering about this strange new galaxy. On the fourth day, Dr. Santos burst onto the bridge, her eyes wild with excitement. "Captain, I think I found something." Elena leaned over the scientist's console, her brow furrowed as she tried to make sense of the complex diagrams and equations. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" "This," Amelia said, pointing to a particular set of figures, "is the energy signature of the Vex-Car wormhole. And this," she swiped to another screen, "is a similar energy signature I've detected in this galaxy. It's faint, but it's there." Elena's heart raced as she began to understand the implications. "Are you saying there's another wormhole out there?" Amelia nodded, her excitement palpable. "Not just one, Captain. I think this entire galaxy is crisscrossed with a network of stable wormholes. If we can figure out how to access them, we might be able to find our way back home." It was the first real glimmer of hope they'd had since arriving in this strange new place. Elena was about to respond when an alarm blared through the ship. "Captain, we've got company," Lieutenant Chen called out. "Multiple ships approaching fast. Configuration unknown, but they're definitely not Vex-Car." Elena rushed to her captain's chair, her mind racing. "On screen," she ordered. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a group of sleek, crystalline ships approaching the Phoenix. Their design was unlike anything Elena had ever seen, beautiful yet undeniably alien. "They're hailing us," Chen reported. Elena took a deep breath, straightening her uniform. This was it, humanity's first contact with a truly alien species. "Open a channel," she said. The view screen changed, showing the interior of one of the alien ships. The beings they saw were humanoid in shape, but their skin seemed to shimmer with an inner light, and their eyes were large, multifaceted orbs that reminded Elena of insect eyes. One of the aliens stepped forward, its movements fluid and graceful. When it spoke, its words were translated by the ship's advanced linguistic systems. "Unknown vessel, you have entered the territory of the Luminary Collective. State your intentions." Elena stood, her posture straight and proud. "I am Captain Elena Reyes of the Starship Phoenix. We are explorers from a distant galaxy, brought here by accident. We come in peace and seek your assistance." The alien's multifaceted eyes seemed to study Elena intently. "Your ship bears signs of recent battle, Captain Reyes. Are you fleeing from an enemy?" Elena hesitated for a moment, unsure of how much to reveal, but something in the alien's demeanor made her decide on honesty. "We are engaged in a war with a species known as the Vex-Car. They created a wormhole that brought us here." At the mention of the Vex-Car, the alien's shimmering skin pulsed with what Elena interpreted as alarm. "The Devourers," it said, its translated voice filled with dread. "They have found your galaxy as well." Elena's mind reeled at the implications. "You know of the Vex-Car?" The alien nodded solemnly. "They are ancient enemies of many species across multiple galaxies. We have fought them for millennia, keeping them at bay with our wormhole network. But if they have developed their own wormhole technology..." The alien turned to confer with its companions, their conversation too quick and quiet for the translator to pick up. When it turned back to Elena, its demeanor had changed from cautious to resolute. "Captain Reyes, we would like to invite you and your crew to our homeworld. If the Devourers have indeed found a way to create their own wormholes, then all life in all galaxies is at risk. Perhaps together, we can find a way to stop them once and for all." Elena felt a surge of hope and determination. They had come to this galaxy lost and alone, but now they had found potential allies in the fight against the Vex-Car. More than that, they have found a purpose greater than just finding their way home. "We would be honored to accept your invitation," Elena replied. "Together, we'll show the Vex-Car that they've underestimated not just humanity, but all sentient life." As the Phoenix fell into formation with the Luminary ships, Elena turned to her crew. Their faces showed a mix of excitement, apprehension, and determination. They had set out to explore the unknown, and now they found themselves at the center of an intergalactic conflict. Well, folks, Elena said with a wry smile, it looks like our mission parameters have changed a bit. We're no longer just fighting for Earth or humanity. We're fighting for all life everywhere. Dr. Santos spoke up, her voice filled with awe. Captain, do you realize what this means? We're about to gain access to technology and knowledge beyond our wildest dreams, the scientific advancements we could make, and the weapons we could develop, Lieutenant Chen added, her tactical mind already at work. Elena nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. We'll learn everything we can from the Luminari. We'll combine their knowledge with our human ingenuity. And then we'll find a way back to our galaxy and stop the Vexcal once and for all. As the Phoenix followed the Luminari ships towards their homeworld, Elena couldn't help but feel a sense of destiny. They had been brought to this galaxy for a reason, and now they had the chance to make a difference on a scale they had never imagined. The journey ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but Elena knew that her crew was up to the challenge. They were no longer just the crew of an exploration vessel. They were now the vanguard of an intergalactic alliance, the spark that could ignite a revolution against the Vexcar's tyranny. As she watched the alien stars streak by, Elena made a silent vow. They would learn, they would grow, and they would fight. And in the end, they would show the universe the true strength of the human spirit.